We all have stories about money. Some are funny, some are embarrassing, others make us cringe, while others leave us empowered. Far too often, these stories are left unshared. Money is such a taboo subject, but quiet as it's kept, our experiences with money are more common than we think. When we share stories, we feel less alone in our experiences, and we discover new strategies for navigating life with money. I'm your host, Melissa Mazard. You're listening to Memories of Money, where our guests reveal their financial secrets and where you will learn practical lessons and principles for a life of financial health and prosperity. Over the past few years, I've been interviewing colleagues in finance about their journeys with money. The truth is, we all have a story, even financial professionals. This episode is a little different. Instead of hearing from just one guest, you'll hear from several people, each sharing their experiences, reflections, and emotions around money. I asked each of them the same question: what are 3 emotions you felt on your financial journey? You may even recognize some of these feelings in your own story. Many guests also shared honest advice for anyone just getting started or needing a little encouragement. Let's get into it.
3 emotions that come to mind for me are vulnerability, fear, and excitement. Vulnerability, just being able to accept the things that I don't know, the things that I was afraid of, and that was why I mentioned that emotion. Being willing to ask for help in those areas that I needed help in, and then accepting the mistakes that I made along the way regarding my finances and what areas I needed to, clean up. And then the excitement being on the back end. Once you accept the vulnerability, get over the fear and make the changes, and then be able to look back and see the result, the positive result of those changes.
Definitely fear of, am I doing this right? Am overwhelmed. Wow, there's so much to learn. And I think a little bit of pride when I started to get the hang of it and realize, okay, when I slow it down, take my time, and learn a little bit at a time, I can be confident too.
So initially, I was terrified because I didn't know what I needed to do. And then when I started to figure out what I needed to do, I felt overwhelmed. And then once it started to work and I started to believe that it was possible, I felt hopeful.
When I started my financial journey, I realized that we were in debt and we didn't need to be. I was angry. And then as I was going through the journey, I saw how things are working. I got encouragement. Now that we're basically financially free, no debt, no credit, no problems, calm. Just a calm sense of relaxation. I don't know if that's an emotion, but yeah.
It's been such a ride. I mean, my husband and I, my financial journey really started when I was married, and we were fighting about money on the honeymoon. So I think right there, the emotion of frustration, because we weren't on the same page, but yet we didn't know what the numbers were. When we finally put the numbers on paper, we saw that we had $60,000 of debt, but $100 in savings and $9 in our checking account.
Wow.
So frustration, and then going through the process of paying off the debt, I was exhausted. I mean, beans and rice and beans, but just get to that point, pay it off. And then when we finally did, it took me years to get to the point where I felt comfortable spending money. So now, that last payment was in 2013. So here we are, 10 years later, and it's just like, now I'm comfortable.
Okay.
So if things come up, and they have, it's just like, okay, look how far we've come. If we can go with if we can make it with $9 in our checking account, we can freaking do anything.
So my financial journey, so a lot of feeling kind of silly because I'm a very smart person, but I didn't know a lot of things about money that I should know about money.
Okay.
Also frustrated, because there's a lot of times where I felt I should be able to do some things but couldn't because I was now being responsible so I couldn't do a lot of those things anymore. And then hopeful. Before I had dreams and then now a lot of those are possibilities, and then now I'm like, I think I can actually turn some of those possibilities into actual realities. So, yeah.
Three emotions, I guess. There's an old TV show, the original Night Court.
Original Night Court?
Yeah, the original Night Court TV show.
Okay.
And there was a elderly lady who was one of the bailiffs. And when she would talk about things, about how something was, she would say, I laughed, I cried, it became a part of me. So those would be my three emotions.
I think the biggest thing was definitely like uncertainty, right? The uncertainty that we face looking at a future that we can't know, but yet having confidence for the past. I'd also say, like, at the same time, uncertainty and confidence to know that I was going to figure it out and make it work.
Okay.
And the last one, like, just thankfulness, right? The fact to live in a country that offers opportunity, where hard work can be rewarded, where persistence can pay off. But even more than that, like what Milmoney kind of represents, a community of people surrounding me to give back, to help to lift me up, and not let me figure it out and mess up all on my own.
Three emotions I felt on my financial journey. Definitely initially a little scared maybe about what my financial future would be. I was in debt coming out of college, had car loans, was sort of nervous about the baggage that came with that and the lack of freedom that I had. So I guess maybe not as much scared as maybe feeling a little bit trapped. Along the way though, I felt excited about what I was learning. I was reading a lot of personal finance blogs, sort of educating myself, and I got fired up, excited about the learning process. So I think that helped propel me forward. And then lastly, I would say I started feeling free and independent. Like the feelings of freedom came when I removed debt, when I found a way to hack my financial issues and sort of fix those and turn those into successes, and then feel like I was moving myself forward financially. My biggest piece of financial advice that really worked for me, because I was a poor saver, I was a good spender but a bad saver, so I had to really hack my my savings ability. And so I started hiding money from myself and putting it in savings accounts and doing that over and over again and automating that. And I was able to still sort of feel like I could spend my money, but knowing that on the side, in the background, I was automatically saving and things were moving forward from my financial life without me really having to manually work for it every month. Yeah.
I would say the very first one is shame. I think that we all think that we should be better at this. And why do we actually think that when we're not really taught that? So shame. I have felt power when I started to learn what I could do better and then actually put it into practice. And I have felt pride in myself and in doing things that I never thought that I could do or that I would do and that others thought I wouldn't do and couldn't do. And I think that the power and the pride that we have can kind of overcome the shame after a while. And that's what we should all be going for.
Hi, three emotions on my financial journey. A little bit nervous that I was actually going to be able to reach my goal. Really excited when I was able to pay cash for my house because that was our big goal. And I felt like my grandpa would have been really proud. So he never got to see that, but pride was there.
The first one I felt was unprepared as a young adult, having to navigate money all on my own. The second one I felt was stressed and overwhelmed at the bills and even facing homelessness at one point in my adult journey. And then as I learned more and more about finances, I felt empowered that I could leave behind a legacy for my family, be able to live and pay off debt and to save money and have a great life.
Pain. I was hurt by some of the bad decisions that I made that impacted me and my family, and joy. When I finally got my life together and started taking care of finances, I felt really good.
Insecure. When you are on the brink of financial devastation, if you have something that happens, like my car is 20 years old, and I don't have any sort of income to cover that. So it's so vulnerable is the next one too. Vulnerable, insecure, and scared.
On my financial journey, I felt fear, embarrassment, and pride. I felt fear not knowing and understanding. I was embarrassed when I made mistakes, but then I had pride when I improved and got better, and looking back on how far I've come.
So the first one is anxiety, for sure. As I transition out of the military into finances, there's definitely some trepidation as to just making that journey in the first place. The second one is encouragement that others have already done that before, so I definitely know that I can do that. And then the last one is hope. That the things that I'm doing are going to make a positive change in the community and in the military community specifically.
I would describe it as confusing, pissed off, but hopeful. I feel that we as African Americans may not have some of the knowledge that others intuitively have from a lifetime of having resources available at their beck and call and learning from the lessons of the past with our parents, etc., who may not have had a lot of teachings themselves. So in reflecting, I really do believe that younger people should learn more about this in their education systems early to support this lifelong learning and journey that they should be on. But I'm hopeful because in this field that I work, I think that I've learned a lot and am sharing a lot with others so they can hopefully be on a better footing than we may have been.
I would say scared. Wow, is this happening? And, oh, I've arrived, but did I? The scared part was at the beginning of my journey. I started my journey very young. I was a very young mom. So trying to position myself to be financially responsible for my kids, wanting to provide something more for them. That was the scary part. The middle was just kind of moving me through from one space to the next. So it was mentally, it was kind of torture because you were trying to figure out your income, who's going to pay me the right dollar amount for me to survive. You're trying to move from being on the system and not having like a college degree, and not being able to even put yourself in a position to obtain that. And then, like, how do I figure out how to make a good household where my kids don't have to feel this pain that I'm feeling right now? So through that journey, when I felt like I had arrived, there's always this sense of accomplishment when you feel like you've made it from one goal to the next. But then when you get there and you kind of look at your audience and like, who else are in the same spots that I'm in? Did I really arrive? So I think that even leads me up to today where, I don't know, you always have that in the back of your mind. Did I ever actually accomplish the goal or get to the space that I really need to be at? So it's still an open question for me.
First, that I was excited. I'm thinking I'm doing everything was great. Then when I took a look at what I had, I felt upset that I'm useless, I'm worthless, and I just can't do it. Then third, I felt accomplished because I realized, like, hey, this is the way I learn. This is a way that I actually understand information. It was great for me. Think about, how do you learn? And really dig deep into the numbers. You'll never go wrong.
Anxiousness, fear, and excitement. What made me anxious was I went from a multiple six-figure household to half, and I had to figure out a way to monetize my skill set in a shortened time frame because bills do not care about you losing your job. And so the excitement came from being able to dive into my creativity and really kind of get out of that monotony and no autonomy in corporate, that I can shift into entrepreneurship. Fear, probably because I am very much a structured thinker. I'm a numbers person, but I also didn't 100% know what I was doing. So I would say all of those three. If you're on a journey right now to either set a path out towards creating a financial plan for your lifestyle, the best thing to do is stop paying attention to other people's highlight reel. Your journey is your journey, your budget and your numbers is your numbers. Don't mimic someone else's situation. Create a plan that works best for you and your household and budget.
When I really had to go through repairing my credit and paying off debt, I originally was embarrassed. I felt a little shame because I just could not believe that I'd allowed myself to get to that financial position. And then as I went through, I was angry, really, at myself. I got a little, I guess I'll say, just depressed and sad. But as I continued to go through the journey, the motivation as I began to see the changes, and ultimately I was proud of myself. I was proud for my progress. I was proud that I'd paid off debt, that I had successfully repaired my own credit, and I was so excited to share what I'd done with anyone because I knew that if I could do it, I could help someone else to do it as well. The advice that I would give is to first forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for any past financial mistakes. Forgive yourself for decisions that you made at any point in time. Second, I would say every financial mistake is fixable. So focus on what you want to achieve and you know that you can do it. And the third thing that I'd say is slow and steady wins the race. You can achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. Just take it one step at a time.
Well, I think initially felt, intimidated by it because it's so foreign to a lot of people in this country, but especially people of color. But as time went by, it's felt empowering. I've been a student and teacher of financial literacy for almost 30 years, since 1995. I just feel empowered. I mean, that's the main thing because it's not just for me, it's also I can empower other people. The advice I would give is to know that you can learn it, right? That you don't have to know a whole lot, that you can start with the basics, and that it's important. That is so crucial, especially for Black and brown community. I talk about 3 pillars: mindfulness, being very self-aware, also having the right mindset, an ownership mindset as opposed to a consumer mindset, and then focus on the money management. So it's the 3 M's, I call it, or the M factor. You have the X factor, the M factor. Mindfulness, ownership mindset, and then money management.
Felt so many emotions. I would say I went through despair, I went through excitement, and I went through awe. I think awe is the emotion that I have come back to over and over. Just realizing what is possible when I decided to put my mind to it, decided to do learning and go out into the world with the mindset of I can have financial wellness, I can be well, I can be financially independent. So yeah, despair, excitement, and awe. Start slowly if you have to, but start. And connect with other folks who are doing the same things as you, similar things as you, folks doing wildly different things from you, but really building that community, getting really clear about what your end game is, and to know also that it will change over time.
Definitely anxiety, and it's overwhelming, and it feels like you're not gonna get there fast enough. It's preventing you from doing other things. Felt like it was too much responsibility. I know that's a phrase, not a word. Also because I was responsible for others along the way, and I was a burden, I would think. Or that's how it felt, right? And as progress has actually been happening, it's a relief. I think that being able to enjoy the small wins along the way, instead of just focusing on, I'm just now debt free. No. I paid off the one credit card. Yes, that helps. Progressional improvement, again, another phrase, it's a big one because it is a journey for sure. Be patient and seek help. I think also don't necessarily punish yourself if you think it's going to take too long or much longer than you anticipated. As long as you are consistent, you will get there.
So when I started my financial journey fresh off from college, I felt overwhelmed and lost on how to start building my finances because I don't earn much that time. I was a CPA. But then I realized that in order for me to earn more, I have to start building my skill sets. I had to invest in myself first for me to be more marketable in my career. So that's what I next started working on, just building my skill sets, not thinking about money. I think it will follow when you really like what you do and you get to build more expertise. And then later on, now that I think about 10 years in my career, I could say that I'm happier, more stable, because I can afford the things that I wasn't able to afford before. Invest in your skill sets. Identify the things that you're passionate about and learn about them, and the money will follow.
3 emotions. One was a lot of anxiety because I realized I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I was trying to teach myself along the way in my 30s after graduating school. Excitement, because as I started to learn, I felt like, I might actually be on the right path of doing this. And then I think hope, it was the last one, of kind of seeing that even though I'm still on the financial journey with my debt and all of that, I know I have the skills now, and one day I will be financially independent. If you are starting in the middle, close to the end, I think one thing that helps is to have a support system, a community that you can talk to about this, because it can be a very lonely experience.
I was definitely scared because I didn't know what I was doing. I was ambitious because I wanted to make a change. I was ready for, things to change, to do better, and excited. I was excited for what was to come. I would say it's never too late to start. I think a lot of people are like, oh, is it too late now? I'm too old now. I'm too young. So just get started. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. Just get started and make the change that you need to see.
So when I first started this journey, I graduated college, was driving a Mitsubishi Diamante, graduated with, I want to say initially $35,000 student loan debt, which accrued to $40,000. Blinded my eyes to it, didn't take a look at it, then finally consolidated onto one particular loan, and it ended up being like $42,000. And then I, deferred it, and decided to pay it eventually. And then one day, after finishing grad school, after marrying my wife, I looked at our debt, and we were in around $100,000 worth of debt with no assets, and it was not fun looking at that. So I'm like, how am I going to tackle this? So one of the things I was doing is I got my first job, and I was working at Enterprise as an accountant, bored out my mind for years, not making any movement. So I quit. And I ended up making a decision to pursue my initial dream, to make some money as an auditor so I could move into financial planning at some point. So once I did that, I had a lot of trepidation about my finances at that time, worried about am I going to be able to pay it. But as I progressed and focused on my field, I was able to pay down the debt, initially focus on the debt, putting additional $500 to the mortgage payment, to the student loans. And then as time went on, I started investing more and stopped focusing on the debt as much. And so I used a tax minimization strategy to put around $12K per month as my career progressed into a 401K. I did that for around, I want to say 3 or 4 years through the pandemic, and was able to build our portfolio up from around $50,000 initially to north of $800,000 over 4 years. And as that money started to grow and compound, like compound interest works, you hit that I want to say that trajectory at the end of the curve. The money worries or the trepidation I had initially around money changed. And I wasn't so worried about accumulating money because the money was able to grow. And the debt was no longer concerned as it was initially in the journey. So that's pretty much my money story and how I went from feelings of trepidation to, now I don't really worry about money as much anymore. and now I'm focused on living in my purpose and being comfortable with money. I would say stay the course, especially if you're young. It will get better, especially if you went to school with a bunch of student loans. Read, right? Always try to improve, and just start automating investing earlier. And don't always focus on a debt. Get yourself in a good spot with the debt, right? But you don't have to focus so much on paying down a debt, because oftentimes the return on the market investments is greater than the amount on the debt. And also, you get in the habit of saving early, which you got to build that muscle of saving, because there's going to be times when investments go down and you might not be able to profit from that.
Thanks for listening to Memories of Money. I hope these stories reminded you that our financial wellness is a journey of highs and lows, that you're not alone, and that growth is always possible. As we wrap up this season, I also want to share that the podcast will be going on a bit of a hiatus. I'll be focusing on studying for my certified financial planner designation, but my plan is to return with new episodes in September 2026. That time will be here before we know it, but until then, take care of yourself and your money. You can keep up with me on Instagram at Prosper with Mel. If you enjoyed this episode, please let us know with a like and review. And remember, you are in good company. We all go through it with money. Our power comes when we take those lessons and turn them into progress.